How's everybody doing? Good. I like the applause. In 1989, I was 9 years old. And when we turn 9, this is when we start to think about what we want to do as adults. And probably, just like all of you, I would say to myself all the time, when I grow up, I just want to work in an IT staffing agency. Right? Just like you guys. True or false? False. When I was 9, my mom was, and still is to this day, was an artist. And my dad actually had played in the NFL. So naturally, when I was 9, I was going to be an artist that also played in the NFL. Fast forward to 1996, I'm now a freshman in high school. And one thing is for certain, I knew at that time I'm definitely not going to be playing in the NFL. And art is a fun hobby, not a professional career for me. Now, if you remember, 1996 had a lot of really great movies that came out, one of which had a huge impact on my life. Now, I don't know if you remember this movie. Do you remember the movie Jerry Maguire? Yeah? For those of you who may not remember, Jerry Maguire was about a high-profile sports agent played by no other than Dreamboat Tom Cruise. And Jerry Maguire had several professional athletes that he represented. And one night, one of his hockey players suffered a horrible brain contusion right before he was about to hit his financial incentive bonus. He was laid up in the hospital with his family around him, wife and daughter, and of course Jerry was there. And he kept on saying, I gotta get the bonus, I gotta get the bonus. And Jerry Maguire leaned over and said, don't worry, champ, you're gonna get back on that ice and you're gonna hit that bonus. And the wife is looking at him like, are you serious? Just like he's the absolute devil. I mean, our child is here. The last thing this man should be doing is playing on the ice. Well, that caused a moral epiphany for Jerry Maguire, and he wrote in a manifesto all night that night, woke up, sent that manifesto to the industry trade magazine, and published it. And when the publication hit the news, hit the industry, it was not well received by the agency who employed him. They fired him. And he said, that's all right, I'm going to go out on my own. He lost all of his clients, but the one, Rod Tidwell. This movie was riddled with risk, anxiety, financial insecurity, and in my 1996-year-old brain, I was like, oh, that sounds good, I'll do that. Yeah. Fast forward to 2004, I'm now a senior in college. I've seen this movie probably about 24 times. I'm still of the mindset that I'm going to be a sports agent. I was a Bachelor of Science major, but I didn't really put too much emphasis on my major because really I was a college athlete. I was a full-time college athlete. I never went to one career fair, never went to one career counselor. I was focused on being a good team, knowing what it's like to be on a team, and doing whatever it takes to win. Now, after graduation, I actually did end up getting a job at a sports marketing agency. But it was a far cry from the high-profile sports agent on the sidelines. No, I was in a dingy office in New York City in the back cubicle, making 100 cold calls a day to sell low-level sports marketing packages to small to medium-sized businesses. I hated it. I lasted no longer than 9 months. My next job was selling document outsourcing services to litigation attorneys, and it was as exciting as it sounds. I hated it. I was making $45,000 a year living in New York City. And when you make $45,000 a year living in New York City, a city of 20 million people can be awfully lonely because there's nothing you can do. You can't afford to go out. And when you're lonely in your early 20s in 2006, what you do is you take to AIM Instant Messenger to find some connection. And on one lonely, soul-sucking afternoon, something exciting happened. I got a message. I got a message from a girl that I liked. I had a crush on in college. She chatted me up. She said, hey, don't you live in New York City? And I was like, yeah, matter of fact, I do. I'm kind of a big deal. Send. And she said, I'm going to be there on Friday. And I said, can I take you out to dinner? She said, yes. I said yes. This is exciting. I'm going to go somewhere where she'll be impressed. Now, as you probably guessed, I didn't really have I can impress you budget, right? My debit card certainly wasn't up to the task, but my credit card was. Remember, I was taking career advice from a fictional character played by Tom Cruise, so my financial literacy skills were not that good. Friday night comes, I'm excited. I take her out to somewhere nice. It's Jules Live Jazz in the East Village of New York City, and this place is popping. And the conversation is great, the eye contact is great, the chemistry is great. I love this girl, nothing could go wrong. Sir, your card's been declined. It sounded like she said, sir, your card's been declined and you are a loser. Has your card ever been declined in front of someone that you're trying to impress? It was horrible. I started to sweat. My face turned red. My voice got to a higher pitch. I said, I'll be right back. That's a new card, the thing about new cards. I'm actually really successful. Let me go to the ATM machine. I'll walk down the street. I'll be right back. Oh. I started walking down the street to that ATM machine, every step going, please have cash in your account, please have cash in your account, please have cash in your account. I walked up to that ATM machine like it was some sort of deity, like it held the fate of my entire lives in its computer hands. I put my PIN code in, silence. Oh, the sweet sound of overdraft protection. I was still in the game. I remember with my tail between my legs, paying for that date, and I will say that story does end well. Actually, years later, I would marry that woman. Today, we do have 3 kids, so let's give it up for that. Yeah, thank you. Very accomplished. But that night, I was like, what the hell happened? I used to be captain of a Division I sports program. I had passion. I had purpose. I knew where I was going. Now, who knew following Tom Cruise, a fictional character, would have led me here? Lost, completely directionless. I remember calling my sister that night, and I told her everything. I told her about the date. I told her how embarrassed I was. I told her how I was totally lost. I've already lost twice with these 2 jobs. I didn't know where I was going. By the end of the weekend, she calls me back and she said, hey, talk to my friend. He's a manager at an IT staffing agency. And he's going to take you out to lunch tomorrow. Ryan, wear something nice, and don't worry. He said he'll pick up the check, which was good news because I was about tapped out of overdraft, if you know what I mean. I remember walking in, and this gentleman right off the bat impressed me. I mean, he had something that I hadn't had since I graduated, enthusiasm and excitement for what he did. Over the course of that lunch, he was able to tell me about a day in the life of a successful technology recruiter. He talked to me about how he worked with employers to understand what their needs were and then built relationships with candidate pools and kind of shepherded them through the hiring process. The more he started talking, the more I thought, it sounds a lot like a sports agent. Just replace athlete with Java developer, and it's basically the same thing. Days later, I was interviewing. Weeks later, I had a new job. And over the course of the next few months, I got coaching. I just did what they told me to do. They laid out rules, and they laid out objectives and tasks, and I went through my week, reported my goals. It was a perfect fit. As time went on, they put me on an account group with other recruiters. There was competition in the office. And for the first time in 2 years, I actually felt like I was back on a team. And then I started becoming a valuable member of that team. Pretty soon, I was one of the high producers in the office. Now, I tell you that story for 2 reasons. One, the journey of the athlete. The experience of a college athlete is the perfect training ground for a technology recruiter or for a recruiter of any kind. And luckily, every year, there are 250,000 athletes that are graduating and entering into the workforce every single year. And there's a good portion of them that I can tell you from personal experience, having worked with 150,000 athletes on our platform, is that many of them are lost. They don't know exactly what they want to do. And that brings up the second reason why I tell you that story. The guy who took me out to lunch, his ability to articulate the day in the life of what a recruiter does, not only did it change the trajectory of my entire life, but that agency was able to get a young, energetic, hardworking producer who made placements, got it. It was a win-win. So my message to you all is that after the conference, when you go back to your employees, quiz them. Find out who are your best day-in-the-life storytellers. And when you find a nice, diverse group of storytellers, have those stories be heard in front of large groups of athletes. And when you do that, when you take those storytellers and you put them in front of your athletes, you unlock something. You unlock a growth strategy that your culture will love. And we all know culture and revenue, they're tied together. Culture loves character, culture loves grit, and culture loves energy. And athletes have all three of those in spades. I'm excited for those who take that advice, what happens to your organization. I'm Ryan Drummond. Thank you.